The rain fell in sheets across the Oakland Hills Cemetery, turning the manicured grass into a muddy canvas of sorrow. Sophia Chen stood alone before a weathered headstone, her black umbrella forgotten at her side, letting the cold October rain soak through her coat. "I'm sorry, Dad," she whispered to the granite marker that read David Chen, beloved father and husband, 1965-2009. "I'm about to do something you wouldn't be proud of. But Mom needs me and I need to do this." Her fingers traced the engraved letters, rain and tears indistinguishable on her face. 15 years had passed since that terrible night when police knocked on their door. 15 years of carrying a weight that grew heavier with each passing day. And now, in 3 days, she would face the son of the man who destroyed everything. Lightning cracked across the San Francisco Bay in the distance, illuminating the city's skyline like a broken promise. Sophia pulled her coat tighter and walked away, her footsteps squelching in the mud. She had a role to play, and the curtain was about to rise. The conference room on the 42nd floor of the Transamerica Pyramid offered a panoramic view of San Francisco, but Ethan Cross saw none of it. His eyes were fixed on the email glowing from his laptop screen, each word another nail in his company's coffin. Mr. Cross. After careful consideration, Tanaka Holdings has concerns about moving forward with the proposed partnership. Mr. Tanaka will be in San Francisco next week for final discussions. This will be your last opportunity to address our reservations. Specifically, Mr. Tanaka has expressed concerns about entrusting such a significant investment to someone who, in his words, does not understand the stability that comes from personal commitment. He values leaders who demonstrate balance in all aspects of life. Kenji Yamamoto, executive assistant to Hiroshi Tanaka. Fuck. Ethan pressed his palms against his eyes until he saw stars. 5 years of building Metacore, 5 years of 18-hour days, 5 years of proving that AI could revolutionize early cancer detection, all hanging by a thread because an 80-year-old Japanese billionaire thought he was too single to trust. His phone buzzed. James, his brother, texting, "Still coming to dinner tonight, I made lasagna. Well attempted." The smoke alarm only went off twice. Ethan smiled despite everything. At 28, James was a certified genius who could solve complex mathematical theorems in his head, but couldn't figure out how to use a timer. The autism spectrum disorder that made social interactions challenging for James had also gifted him with the kind of pattern recognition abilities that had helped Ethan develop Metacore's algorithm. "Be there at 7, Ethan typed back, then added, "Order pizza, just in case." A knock interrupted his thoughts. Lisa, his CFO, peered in, her expression grim. "The board wants answers, Ethan. If Tanaka walks, we have maybe 6 weeks of runway left. We need to start considering alternatives." "You mean layoffs?" "I mean survival. 30% reduction would buy us another quarter to find new investors." Ethan stood, his 6-foot frame unfolding from the chair, with the kind of restless energy that had defined him since childhood. "We're not firing anyone, Lisa. These people believed in us when we were nothing but an idea and a prototype. I'm not throwing them overboard at the first sign of rough waters." "Then you better have one hell of a plan for next week." After Lisa left, Ethan stared at the city below. Somewhere in those maze-like streets were 200 employees counting on him. People with mortgages, children, dreams of their own. The weight of responsibility pressed against his chest, familiar as breathing. It was the same weight his father had carried until it crushed him. His hand unconsciously went to his pocket, feeling the outline of the old Rolex he always carried but never wore. Marcus Cross had been wearing it the night he jumped from the Golden Gate Bridge. The watch had stopped at 11:47 p.m., and Ethan had never fixed it. Some things were meant to stay broken. Sophia was late for her interview, which was unfortunate since she desperately needed this job. 3 months since Hartley Architecture had folded 3 months of rejections, and now her mother's cancer had returned with a vengeance. The experimental treatment at Stanford Medical Center came with a price tag that made her stomach churn, $200,000, insurance covering barely a third. She rushed into Phil's Coffee on Forest Avenue, juggling her portfolio, resume folder, and phone while trying to order. The barista called out mint mojito for Ethan just as she turned, and the collision was spectacular. Hot coffee exploded everywhere, her portfolio scattered, and papers flew like architectural snow. "Jesus Christ, I'm so sorry." The man stopped, mid-apology, staring at her work scattered on the floor. His eyes, startlingly green against his dark hair, widened as he knelt to help gather the papers. These are incredible. Did you design these? Despite her panic, Sophia noticed his hands as he carefully collected her drawings, strong, meticulous, with a thin scar across the left knuckle. Yes, I need those in order. I have an interview. The Mitchell Museum renovation. He held up one rendering, coffee still dripping from his expensive suit. This is brilliant. The way you've integrated the modern extension with the historical structure. Who are you interviewing with? Steinberg Associates, if I can make it in. She checked her phone, -5 minutes. He pulled out his phone, typed quickly. David Steinberg is a friend. I'm telling him, you're running late due to my inability to watch where I'm going. He showed her the sent message. You've got a 15-minute grace period. Sophia blinked, suspicious of this stranger's sudden kindness. In her experience, help always came with a price. Why would you do that? Because anyone who can design like this deserves a fair shot. And because I really did ruin your suit. He extended his hand. Ethan Cross. The name hit her like ice water. She knew exactly who he was. She'd spent 3 days researching everything about Marcus Cross's son and preparing for their eventual meeting. But this wasn't how it was supposed to happen. She was supposed to approach him at the charity gala on Friday, carefully orchestrated, fully prepared. Not covered in coffee, with her portfolio scattered across a cafe floor. Sophia Chen. She shook his hand, forcing herself not to react to the jolt of recognition or the unexpected warmth of his grip. Listen, Sophia, I know this is forward, but I'm actually looking for an architectural consultant for a project. The interview at Steinberg is it for a full-time position. She nodded, still processing the surreal turn of events. What if I could offer you something better? Contract work, but the pay would be... He named a figure that made her knees weak. 3-month minimum, working on something that could genuinely change healthcare. My company is designing medical centers that integrate AI diagnostics with patient-centered architecture. We need someone who understands how space affects healing. This was too easy, too convenient, but the number he'd mentioned would cover her mother's treatment with room to spare. Why me? You've seen a few drawings, that's all. Ethan smiled, and she caught a glimpse of something hungry in it, not for her, but for excellence, for solutions. Because in 30 seconds of looking at your work, I saw someone who thinks about buildings as living things, not just structures. That's rare. Plus, his smile turned self-deprecating. I owe you a new outfit. Her phone buzzed. Steinberg Associates probably calling to cancel her interview. She declined the call. When would you need an answer? How about we discuss it over dinner tomorrow night? I can show you the full project scope. You can decide if we're completely insane or just mostly insane. She should say no. The smart thing would be to walk away, regroup, stick to the original plan. But her mother's last oncology report flashed in her mind. Aggressive progression, immediate intervention recommended. One dinner, no promises. Fair enough. He pulled out a business card, then paused. Actually, there's one catch. The primary investor is flying in from Tokyo this week. Hiroshi Tanaka. He's traditional. Believes in what he calls complete life success. He might want to meet you too if you join the project. What does that mean exactly? Ethan's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. It means he thinks single people are unstable. Apparently, if you can't manage a relationship, you can't manage his money. It's archaic and ridiculous, but he controls a $50 million investment that could save my company in about 200 jobs. The opportunity crystallized in Sophia's mind, sharp and perfect. So what are you going to do? I honestly don't know. I've been considering hiring an actress, if you can believe that. Desperate times and all that. The words came out before she could stop them. How much? Excuse me. The actress, how much were you planning to pay her? Ethan studied her, those green eyes suddenly sharp. Why do you ask? Because I might have a solution to both our problems. You need a fake fiancé who can convince a traditional investor. I need... She swallowed her pride. I need money. Quickly. My mother is sick. The cafe noise faded around them. Ethan sat back, processing. You're serious. It's cancer, she said, then winced. Sorry, dark humor is my coping mechanism. Mine too, actually. He was quiet for a long moment. This is insane. We just met, which makes it perfect. No messy history, no complicated feelings. A clean business transaction. I play your fiancé for the week Tanaka is here. You pay me what you would have paid an actress plus the architectural consulting fee. We both get what we need. What about your reputation? If this got out, I'm unemployed and my mother is dying. Reputation is a luxury I can't afford. Ethan's expression softened. Something in the way she'd said it, matter of fact, but with an undertone of steel, reminded him of his own desperation when James had first been diagnosed. The lengths you'd go to for family. We'd need a backstory, something believable. We met at a charity gala 6 months ago. The Museum of Modern Art fundraiser, I actually did attend that one, so it's verifiable. Whirlwind romance, keeping it quiet because you don't like mixing personal and professional. Getting married next spring. You've thought about this for exactly 30 seconds and you already have a backstory. I'm an architect. I build things quickly in my head. He laughed, unexpected and genuine. Okay, but there's more. Tanaka will want to see us together in my space. You'd have to move in for the week. Separate rooms, of course, but fine. And there's my brother James. He lives with me part-time. He's on the spectrum and doesn't handle change well. He'd have to be okay with this. I understand. There's also a company gala on Saturday, but to say, black tie 500 guests, lots of photos that would end up online. I clean up well. Ethan shook his head, amazed at the turn his Tuesday had taken. This is probably the worst idea I've ever had. Or the best, depends on how you look at it. Sophia stood gathering her salvaged portfolio. Send me the contract details. And Ethan, $50,000 for the week plus the consulting fee. Non-negotiable. That's what my mother's life is worth to me. What's your company worth to you? Their eyes met, and in that moment, Sophia saw something she hadn't expected: respect. He nodded. Send me your bank details. Half up front, half when Tanaka signs. She turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I really am an excellent architect. I know, he said quietly. That's what scares me. That evening, Sophia sat in her cramped Oakland apartment, laptop open, surrounded by 15 years of carefully preserved newspaper clippings and printed emails. Marcus Cross's face stared back at her from a faded Business Weekly cover, The Golden Gate Genius: How Marcus Cross is Revolutionizing Tech Investment. Her father had trusted Marcus. They'd been partners, friends even. David Chen had invested everything, their savings, their house, equity, their future into Marcus's sure thing venture. But when the deal went south, Marcus had somehow emerged unscathed while David lost everything. The investigation, the bankruptcy, the shame it had driven her father to that rainy night on Highway 101 when his car mysteriously veered off the road. Suicide, the police had said. Sophia never believed it. Her father was a fighter, a survivor who'd emigrated from Taiwan with nothing and built a successful import business. He wouldn't have given up, unless the betrayal had broken something fundamental in him. She opened another folder, medical records she'd found in her mother's closet last month, her father's psychiatric evaluations hidden all these years. Patient exhibits signs of severe PTSD following business partner's betrayal. Survivor's guilt complicated by feeling responsible for partner's attempted suicide. Attempted suicide Marcus had tried before he succeeded. The dates lined up 3 months after the business collapse, 6 months before her father's death. Had her father known? Had he carried that guilt too? Her phone rang. Her mother's weak voice came through. Sophie, did you get the job? Even better. Mom, a contract position that pays enough to cover everything. You're going to get the treatment. Oh, sweetheart, you don't have to. Yes, I do. We're starting next week at Stanford. Dr. Morrison is optimistic about the new immunotherapy. After hanging up, Sophia returned to her research. Ethan Cross, 35 MIT graduate, started Medicor after his father's death. The timing was interesting. Marcus had died just months before the statute of limitations would have expired on several fraud investigations. Convenient. But the deeper she dug into Ethan, the more contradictions she found. He'd quietly paid off his father's debts, even ones he wasn't legally responsible for. He'd hired several of Marcus's former employees who'd been blacklisted. He ran Medicor with an almost obsessive focus on ethics and transparency. Either he was genuinely trying to atone for his father's sins, or he was a better con artist than Marcus ever was. Her phone buzzed. A bank notification, 25,000 deposited. It was real. This insane plan was actually happening. Another text, this time from Ethan: movers will arrive Thursday morning. Attached is Tanaka's dossier and our relationship timeline. Please memorize. Also, you're supposedly allergic to shellfish and love hiking. Hope that's okay. She texted back, I actually am allergic to shellfish. Lucky guess. Or did you research me? Lucky guess. Should I be researching you? Depends. Anything I should know about you? Besides the fake fiancé thing, I can't sleep without checking that the door is locked exactly 3 times. I drink too much coffee. I've read every Terry Pratchett book at least twice. And I have a panic disorder I'm supposedly hiding from everyone, including my board. The last admission stunned her. Why would he tell a stranger that? Why did you just tell me that? Because if we're doing this, you'll see me have an attack eventually. Better you know it's not about you when I suddenly can't breathe in an elevator. Your turn. Tell me something true. Sophia stared at the screen. Something true. Her fingers typed before her brain could stop them. My father died because of yours. She deleted it, typed instead. I haven't designed anything in 3 months. I'm terrified I've lost my ability. That's not possible. I saw your work. That was all old. From before. Before what? Before I stopped believing buildings could be more than concrete and broken promises. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, maybe this project will help you believe again. Good night, Sophia. She closed the laptop, her reflection caught in the black screen. In 3 days, she would move into Ethan Cross's penthouse. She would sleep under his roof, learn his habits, meet his brother, Fool, his investor. She would make him trust her. And then, when the moment was right, she would destroy him the way Marcus Cross had destroyed her father. The thought should have brought satisfaction. Instead, it left her feeling hollow, like one of her unfinished blueprints, all structure, no soul. Wednesday evening arrived with unseasonable warmth. San Francisco's October playing at summer. Ethan paced his Nob Hill penthouse, adjusting and readjusting the same coffee table book, while James watched from the kitchen, methodically arranging pasta by size. You're stressed, James observed, not looking up. You've straightened that book 4 times. Also, your left eye is twitching. I'm not stressed. Lie. Your heart rate is elevated, you're perspiring despite the air conditioning, and you've checked your phone 17 times in the last 10 minutes. How do you even never mind? Ethan forced himself to stop pacing. James, the woman coming tonight. Sophia Chen, architect, graduated from Berkeley specializing in sustainable design with a focus on healthcare facilities. Her thesis on biophilic design and cancer treatment centers won the Eisner Prize. She's helping with the Tanaka presentation. Ethan stared at his brother. You researched her. You sent me her portfolio. I always research people who might disrupt my routine. James finally looked up, his blue eyes so like their father's, it sometimes hurt to look at them direct and unblinking. You like her. I barely know her. Irrelevant. You used your phone voice when you talked about her, the one you use when you're trying not to sound interested. James returned to his pasta. She's also pretending to be your fiancé for Mr. Tanaka because he's traditional and you're desperate. The building's security feed from yesterday was very informative. You hacked the cafe's security feed. Hacked is a strong word. They use default passwords. James aligned the last piece of rigatoni. She's using you too, you know. The way she held herself when you mentioned money micro-expressions suggests significant financial stress. Medical bills based on her browser history. James, you can't just invade privacy. You're literally hiring her to invade hers. At least I'm honest about it. The doorbell rang, and James's entire body tensed. She's 3 minutes early. I don't like early. Early disrupts the pattern. James, I'll be in my room. Bring her when I'm ready. I'll text you. He disappeared down the hallway, taking his organized pasta with him. Ethan opened the door to find Sophia in a simple blue dress, holding a bottle of wine and a notebook. She looked nervous, which somehow made him feel better. Hi, she said. I brought wine and questions. Lots of questions. Come in. Fair warning, my brother is having what we call a pattern day. He might not come out. She stepped inside and he watched her architect's eyes scan the space, the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay, the minimalist furniture, the complete absence of personal touches except for a single photograph on the mantel, two boys and their parents at a Giants game, everyone smiling. "This place is exactly what I expected," she said, "and nothing like it." "What did you expect?" "Tech Money Showcase. What I got is a sanctuary, someone trying very hard not to exist in their own space." She walked to the windows. "Incredible view, though. You can see Alcatraz. On clear days, you can see past the Golden Gate." He joined her, maintaining careful distance. "My father bought this place in the 90s when Nob Hill was less insane. I kept meaning to sell it, but it's one of the last places he existed." The accuracy of her observation caught him off guard. "You're good at reading spaces." "Occupational hazard. Buildings tell stories whether we want them to or not." She turned from the view. "So should we practice our grand romance?" For the next 2 hours, they built their fictional relationship with the precision of architects designing a structure. First meeting, the MoMA gala they'd both actually attended, though, hadn't met first date. Atelier Cren. Ethan had the receipts from a canceled business dinner. First kiss under the rotunda at the Palace of Fine Arts, cliché, but believable. "What about fights?" Sophia asked, making notes. "Every couple fights. You leave dishes in the sink. I'm compulsively neat. You work too much. I feel neglected. You redesign my apartment in your head while I'm talking to you." She laughed, caught. "I do not, okay, I do. But your kitchen island is in the wrong place. It's been there for 20 years. Doesn't make it right." She paused. "What about the real stuff, things Tanaka might ask that we can't fake?" "Like what?" "Like how you take your coffee, what side of the bed you sleep on. Your tells when you're lying. Triple shot, no sugar splash of oat milk, right side. And apparently my left eye twitches. Mine's a flat white with hazelnut, left side, and I play with my earring when I'm nervous." She demonstrated fingers going to the small silver hoop. "What about family?" The air shifted. Ethan stood, walked to the kitchen. "Parents dead. Brother James, who you'll meet if he decides he can handle it. You. Mother living, father dead. No siblings." True enough, even if incomplete. Ethan's phone buzzed. A text from James ready. "Bring her. Don't let her touch my things. James will see you now. Fair warning, he's brilliant but particular. Don't take anything personally." James's room was unexpected chaos, but organized chaos. Mathematical equations covered one wall, architectural sketches another. The sketches were extraordinary buildings that seemed to grow rather than be built, organic and impossible. James stood in the center, tall and lean like his brother, but with lighter hair and eyes that didn't quite focus on faces. "You're Sophia Chen." "I am." "Your thesis on biophilic design was flawed." Sophia blinking. "Excuse me." "The calculation for optimal natural light distribution didn't account for seasonal variations in cities above the 45th parallel. The error margin is approximately 12.7%. Instead of being offended, Sophia stepped closer to his wall of equations. "You're right. I realized that after publication. The correction would be—" She picked up a marker from his desk, looked at him for permission. He nodded. She wrote out the corrected formula. James studied it, then her, then the formula again. "That's elegant." "Thank you. Ethan loves you." It wasn't a question. Ethan started. "James, not romantically, not yet, but he loves what you represent. Order from chaos, beauty from function. It's why he builds medical systems, to make sense of the senseless." James turned those unfocused eyes on Sophia. "Our father jumped from a bridge. Did Ethan tell you that—" "James S." Ethan's voice held a warning. "No," Sophia said quietly. "He didn't tell me." He was wearing his watch, a 1973 Rolex Submariner. It survived the fall. Ethan carries it everywhere but never wears it. He thinks time stopped for our family that night. James tilted his head. "Your father died too. You carry that weight in your shoulders. They're uneven, the left is higher. Chronic tension from emotional burden." Sophia's hand went unconsciously to her left shoulder. "You're both broken in complementary ways," James continued. "It's why this fake relationship might accidentally become real. Pattern recognition suggests a 73. 6% probability of genuine emotional attachment within the week. That's enough analysis for tonight, Ethan said, but his eyes were on Sophia watching her reaction. I like her, James announced. She corrected her mistake without ego. She can stay. He turned back to his equations. Goodbye, Sophia Chen. Dismissed, they returned to the living room. Sophia was quiet processing. I'm sorry about Ethan said. He doesn't have filters. Don't apologize. He's remarkable. Those sketches, has he ever built anything? He can't handle construction sites, the noise, the chaos, but he designs things I could never imagine. Maybe we could find a way. She stopped. Sorry, not my business. No, finish the thought. Virtual reality. He could walk through his buildings without the sensory overload, see them constructed in real time, make adjustments. It's being used in architecture firms now. Ethan stared at her. That might actually work. I know some people at Autodesk. I could make introductions, if you want. Why would you do that? You barely know us. The question hung between them. Why indeed, this was supposed to be simple. Get in, get paid, get revenge. But James's strange honesty, Ethan's careful protection of his brother, the weight of shared loss in this too-empty penthouse, none of it fit the narrative she'd constructed. Because broken things deserve the chance to be whole, she said finally, even if it's just in virtual reality. Before Ethan could respond, his phone rang. Kenji Yamamoto's name appeared on the screen. I should take this, Ethan said. He answered, his face growing increasingly grave as he listened. Finally, I understand. Yes, he can stay there. We'll make it work. He hung up, ran his hands through his hair. Tanaka arrived early. He's already in San Francisco, and he wants to have dinner tomorrow night. At his hotel, with my fiancée. He looked at Sophia. We're out of rehearsal time. Then we better be convincing. She gathered her things, paused at the door. Ethan, what James said about the 73.6% probability? Yeah, he's usually not wrong about patterns. She left before he could respond, leaving Ethan standing in his sanctuary that suddenly felt less empty than it had in years. Outside, Sophia waited for the elevator, her reflection in the polished doors showing a woman she didn't quite recognize. The plan was simple: make Ethan trust her, find evidence of the Cross family's crimes, expose them, and finally give her father justice. But nothing about this felt simple anymore. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is James. Ethan's eye stops twitching when you're there. That's statistically significant. Another message followed. Also, you smell like jasmine. Colors taste different when you're here. The blue is warmer. She stared at the text. Colors taste different. Then she remembered synesthesia. James experienced the world in overlapping senses, and somehow her presence changed his perception. She typed back, what color am I? Copper shifting to gold, like sunrise through fog. Ethan is midnight blue with silver edges. Together, you're the bay at dawn. She smiled despite herself, then caught her reflection doing so and forced it away. She couldn't afford to care about how James saw colors, or how Ethan's eyes stopped twitching, or the way broken watches could hold entire histories. But as the elevator descended, she thought about patterns and probabilities, about broken things seeking wholeness, and wondered if James had calculated the chances of revenge turning into something else entirely. Probably. The kid seemed to calculate everything. The St. Regis San Francisco stood like a glass and steel monument to luxury, its lobby humming with the quiet confidence of old money. Sophia's hand rested in the crook of Ethan's arm as they walked through the entrance, the gesture still foreign but necessary. She could feel the tension in his muscles through his suit jacket. Remember, he murmured, Tanaka values subtle affection over grand gestures. We've been together 6 months, comfortable but not overly familiar. And his wife, Sophia asked, though she'd memorized every detail from the dossier. Miyuki. She has a heart condition, Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, triggered by their daughter Marina's death 3 years ago. She might not join us if she's having a difficult day. They were shown to a private dining room where Hiroshi Tanaka waited, a man in his 80s who carried his years like armor rather than burden. Beside him sat a woman whose fragility seemed painted on Miyuki Tanaka, her eyes holding the particular emptiness of profound loss. But it was the younger man standing by the window who drew Sophia's attention. Kenji Yamamoto, 40-ish, sharp-suited with eyes that missed nothing. Ethan-san. Tanaka rose, offering a slight bow, which Ethan returned. And you must be Sophia. Ethan speaks of you with great admiration. The admiration is mutual, Tanaka-san. Sophia replied, her architectural work in Japan lending authenticity to her formal greeting. Miyuki studied her with unexpected intensity. You remind me of someone, she said softly in accented English. Someone dear. My wife sees connections everywhere, Tanaka explained, but his hand covered hers gently. Please sit. We have much to discuss. The dinner began as a careful dance. Tanaka asked about their relationship with the precision of a surgeon, each question probing for weakness. Sophia found herself drawing on truths to sell the lies, her genuine admiration for Ethan's dedication to his employees, his unexpected dry humor, the way he unconsciously protected his brother. How do you tolerate his work schedule? Tanaka asked her directly. Ethan's reputation for 16-hour days precedes him. I don't tolerate it, Sophia said, feeling Ethan tense beside her. I challenge it. Success means nothing if you sacrifice everything human to achieve it. We're working on balance. She placed her hand over Ethan's on the table. Some days we succeed, others we fail. But we keep trying. She's made me realize that building something meaningful isn't just about the code or the algorithms. Ethan added his thumb, brushing across her knuckles in a gesture so natural she almost believed it herself. It's about the lives we touch, the spaces we create for healing. Miyuki suddenly gripped the table, her breathing becoming shallow and erratic. Her hand went to her chest, the classic sign of Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, the broken heart syndrome that had been slowly killing her since Marina's death. My pills, she gasped. Tanaka fumbled for her medication, but her eyes locked on Sophia with desperate intensity. You have her hands. Marina's friend had hands like yours. They painted together. Sophia moved without thinking, kneeling beside Miyuki's chair, taking those fragile hands in hers. Breathe with me, Mrs. Tanaka. In through your nose, hold out through your mouth. That's it. She taught me this, Miyuki whispered, tears streaming. Marina's friend, the Vietnamese girl. They were in the car together when she couldn't finish. Sophia's blood chilled. A Vietnamese friend who painted. Her cousin Linda had died in a car accident 3 years ago in Los Angeles. She'd been studying art at UCLA, had mentioned a Japanese friend named Marina. Linda Chen, Sophia breathed. Your daughter knew Linda Chen. Miyuki's eyes widened. Your cousin, oh child. She pulled Sophia close, both of them crying now. They were planning to open an art therapy clinic together. For children with trauma, Marina was going to provide the medical side, Linda the art therapy. The coincidence was too enormous, too painful. Sophia felt Ethan's hand on her shoulder, grounding her. For the next hour, Sophia found herself in genuine conversation with Miyuki about the intersection of architecture and healing. The older woman's knowledge was surprising, informed by years of accompanying her daughter to medical school. Interviews, residency tours, the dreams that would never be fulfilled. Your mother, Miyuki said suddenly. She's ill. Sophia stiffened. That wasn't in any dossier. How did you touch your phone every few minutes without checking it? The way my husband does when he's waiting for medical news. And your eyes, they carry the weight of anticipated loss. Cancer, Sophia admitted quietly. Stage 3. We're starting a new treatment next week. Both our mothers are warriors, Ethan said, and Sophia turned to him in surprise. Mine fought lymphoma for 3 years before he stopped, swallowed. Before we lost her. This wasn't in any of her research. Marcus Cross's wife had died of cancer. The parallel was unsettling. To mothers, Tanaka raised his glass, who teach us strength in the face of the unbearable. They toasted, and in that moment, Sophia felt the dangerous shift from performance to participation, from lies to something perilously close to truth. After dinner, as they waited for their cars, Kenji approached them alone. Impressive performance, he said quietly, his smile not reaching his eyes. I'm sorry, Ethan's voice carried warning. Oh, I think you understand perfectly. Tanaka-san may be sentimental, but I'm paid to be suspicious. 6 months together yet, she doesn't know you're left-handed when you're stressed. He gestured to Ethan's left hand, which had been signing the check. Or that you have a brother. She seemed quite surprised when you mentioned your mother. We don't live in each other's pockets, Sophia said coolly. Adults can love without surrendering privacy. Perhaps, or perhaps this is exactly what it appears, a convenient arrangement. Kenji stepped closer. I'll be watching every gesture, Every word, every moment. And if I find proof this is false, the deal dies. Along with your company, Mr. Cross. He walked away, leaving them standing in the October chill. How did he know? Ethan asked once they were in his Tesla. He's good at his job. We need to be better. Sophia pulled out her phone, typing rapidly. We're moving up the timeline. I need to move in tonight, not tomorrow. And we need to fill in every gap in our story. Sophia, do you want to save your company or not? He was quiet for a long moment, navigating the steep San Francisco streets. Why does this matter so much to you? It's not just the money. She thought of her father's face the last time she'd seen him alive. The defeat in his eyes that she now recognized in Miyuki's, the look of someone whose trust had been shattered beyond repair. Everyone has their reasons, she said. Drive to my apartment. I'll pack tonight. As they drove through the foggy streets, Ethan suddenly spoke. Kenji's hiding something. The way he looked at Tanaka. There's history there. Personal history. You think he's more than just an assistant? I think everyone in this story is more than they seem, including you. He glanced at her. Including me, maybe. We're all performing something, aren't we? The truth of it sat between them, heavy as the fog outside. By midnight, Sophia's life had been condensed into 3 suitcases and 2 boxes in Ethan's guest room. James watched from the doorway as she unpacked his presence, both unnerving and oddly comforting. You're organized, he observed. Everything has a system. Clothes by color and function toiletries by frequency of use. You'd make a good programmer. I build things, just with different materials. She held up a framed photo of her parents young and smiling at Ocean Beach. Where can I put personal items? Ethan doesn't like change, James said, but he also doesn't like empty spaces that should have life. The shelf by the window has been empty since Mom died. The casual revelation hung between them. Sophia placed the photo on the shelf, the San Francisco Bay, glittering beyond it like a promise or a threat. Can I ask you something, she said. You're going to anyway. People always do. What was your father like? James tilted his head, considering. Broken. He understood patterns in markets and technology and systems, but not in people. He couldn't predict that trust was more fragile than code, that betrayal was a virus that replicates through generations. Did he betray someone? Everyone betrays someone. The question is whether it's forgivable. His unfocused eyes suddenly locked onto hers with startling clarity. You're here to hurt Ethan. The micro-expressions are clear anticipatory guilt masked as determination. Sophia's heart stopped. James, but you're also here to save your mother, which creates cognitive dissonance. You can't fully commit to either path. He pulled out a small notebook, sketched something quickly. This is you. The drawing was 2 buildings leaning against each other, each one's weakness, supporting the other's strength, creating a stable structure that should have collapsed but didn't. That's Ethan too, James continued. You're architecturally compatible. It's why the lie works. It's built on a foundation of potential truth. Before she could respond, they heard a crash from the kitchen. They found Ethan on the floor, back against the cabinet, hands shaking, struggling to breathe. Panic attack, James said clinically. Started having them after Dad died. This is medium severity. He'll be functional in approximately 4 minutes. But Sophia was already moving, kneeling beside Ethan without touching him. Ethan, look at me. You're in your kitchen. It's Wednesday, actually Thursday now. Can you see the bridge lights? His eyes found hers, pupils dilated with adrenaline. Count them with me, the lights on the Bay Bridge. She started counting slow and steady until his breathing began to match the rhythm. That's it. You're safe. James is here. I'm here. How did you know? My dad used to get them. After the business collapsed, visual anchoring helps. She sat back on her heels. Better. He nodded, embarrassment flooding his features. I haven't had one in months. The stress is going to kill you if you don't address it. She stood, offered her hand. He took it, letting her pull him up. You can't save everyone if you're drowning Ethan. Sounds like architectural philosophy. Universal truth. Even buildings need solid foundations. James had disappeared, returning now with a glass of water and one of his notebooks. I documented the episode. Duration 3 minutes 47 seconds. Sophia's intervention reduced typical recovery time by approximately half. Thanks for the data, James. Ethan said dryly, but his eyes remained on Sophia. And thank you. You didn't have to. We're supposed to be engaged. This is what partners do. But they all knew she'd responded before remembering their charade acted on instinct rather than performance. I'm going to bed, James announced. Sophia, you should know that Ethan checks the locks 3 times before sleeping. It's not OCD, it's trauma response. His father left through a door he didn't lock. Good night. Alone, Ethan and Sophia stood in the kitchen, the intimacy of the moment making the space feel smaller. We should establish routines, she said. If Kenji is watching, he is. He's staying in the building. Tanaka owns the penthouse 2 floors up. Then we need to be better. Morning coffee together at minimum. Maybe evening walks. Couples have patterns. What were your parents' patterns? The question caught her off guard. Sunday dim sum in Chinatown. Every week until... She stopped. What about yours? Baseball games. Dad never missed one no matter how busy until he started missing them all. They stood there, 2 people carrying their parents' ghosts, pretending to love each other in a kitchen that had seen too much sadness. I should sleep, Sophia said. Big day tomorrow. Sophia, she turned back. That panic attack, don't use it against me, whatever your real agenda is. The accuracy of his guess shouldn't have surprised her. You think I have an agenda? Everyone does. I just haven't figured out yours yet. He paused. But you helped anyway. Why? She thought of her father's attacks, how her mother would hold him through the shaking whispering that it would pass, that he was stronger than his fear. Because panic doesn't care about agendas, she said finally, and neither should compassion. She left him standing there, checking the locks for the first time that night. Thursday arrived, gray and foggy, San Francisco, wrapped in its signature blanket of mist. Sophia woke to the sound of espresso being made and found Ethan in the kitchen, 2 cups already prepared. Flat white with hazelnut, he said, pushing one toward her. Though how anyone ruins coffee with a hazelnut is beyond me. Says the man who drinks what amounts to coffee-flavored jet fuel. She took a sip, perfect temperature. How long have you been up? Since 4. Tanaka wants to visit the office today. Specifically, he wants to see how we work together. And Kenji will be watching for cracks. Exactly. He pulled out an iPad showing her architectural plans. These are the medical center designs we're proposing. I thought you could present them, make our collaboration look more integrated. She studied the plans immediately, seeing flaws and possibilities. Your flow is wrong. Patient rooms shouldn't face the parking structure. And this corridor creates a bottleneck during shift changes. So fix it. Just like that. You're the architect. I trust your expertise. The word trust hung between them, weighted with irony. They worked in comfortable silence until James emerged, assessed them, and announced, "You look like a real couple now." The shared focus on work creates authentic intimacy. Also, Sophia, you have paint in your hair. She reached up, finding a streak of dried blue paint she'd missed from her last project. Ethan moved without thinking, gently pulling the strand free, his fingers brushing her neck. They both froze. Physiological responses indicate mutual attraction, James noted, pouring orange juice. Elevated heart rates, dilated pupils, unconscious, mirroring of posture. Should I document this? No, they said in unison. James shrugged. Denial is also data. Later, as Sophia organized her makeshift office in Ethan's spare room, she knocked over a stack of old boxes. Papers scattered, and she knelt to collect them when a photograph caught her eye. Marcus Cross with another man, both young, both grinning at camera. The other man was her father. Her hands shook as she picked it up. They looked like friends, real friends, not just business partners. On the back, in her father's handwriting, Marcus and David's startup, weekend 1998, the beginning of everything. You shouldn't go through those. She spun to find Ethan in the doorway, his expression unreadable. I wasn't, they fell. It's okay. He knelt beside her, looking at the photo. They were friends, weren't they? Before it all went wrong. You knew. I figured it out last night. Chen isn't that common a name in the tech world, and your age, your father's death timing, it lined up. He set the photo down carefully. Is that why you're here? Revenge. The direct question deserved a direct answer, but she found she couldn't give one. I thought it was. And now I don't know what I'm doing. The admission surprised them both. Your father destroyed mine. Everything I believed for 15 years says I should hate you. But, but you carry his broken watch. You have panic attacks. You're trying to save your employees like he should have saved my father. You're nothing like him and everything like him and she stood abruptly. I need some air. Sophia, please just give me a minute. She found herself on the terrace, the city sprawled below through gaps in the fog. The door opened behind her, but it was James, not Ethan. He won't come, James said. He's respecting your boundary. It's one of his better qualities. Does he have many of those better qualities? 17 that I've documented. Would you like the list? Despite everything, she laughed. You really document everything. Patterns require data. Like you and Ethan, you're creating a new pattern neither of you expected. He stood beside her, not quite looking at her. Our fathers were friends, then they weren't. Now you and Ethan are pretending to be more than friends, but you're becoming something else. The pattern is evolving. What if I hurt him? You will. He'll hurt you too. That's what humans do. The question is whether the hurt serves a purpose. James pulled out his phone, showing her a sketch he had done 2 buildings again, but now they were intertwined, impossible to separate without destroying both. This is you now, architecturally codependent. That's not a real thing. Everything becomes real if you build it right. A car honked below their ride to Medicor. James, she said as they went inside by no. What really happened between our fathers? I don't know. Ethan doesn't either. Dad deleted everything before he died like he was erasing history. But erasure leaves its own pattern. He paused at his door. Maybe that's why you're here. To complete the pattern he tried to destroy. Medicor's offices occupied 3 floors of a South Market building, all exposed brick and open plans that screamed startup culture. But Sophia noticed the details, the quiet spaces for introverts, the standing desks for restless minds, the natural light carefully maximized. Ethan had built a space that considered human needs. Tanaka toured with the thoroughness of a general inspecting troops, Kenji shadowing him with tablet in hand. Employees pitched their components with genuine enthusiasm, and Sophia realized what struck her most. They weren't performing. They believed in what they were building. And this is Dr. Sarah Kim, Ethan introduced, a woman in her 50s with keen eyes. She leads our early detection algorithm team. Mr. Tanaka, Sarah said, bowing slightly, your investment would allow us to deploy in rural hospitals where early cancer detection could save thousands of lives annually. My mother died because her cancer was caught too late. This technology could prevent that for others. Your personal investment is admirable, Tanaka said, but emotion cannot drive business. With respect, sir, Sophia found herself saying, emotion is the only thing that should drive business. Without it, we're just moving money in circles. Kenji smirked, spoken like someone who's never had to make payroll. Spoken like someone who's watched brilliant ideas die because investors forgot that profit without purpose is just greed. The room went silent. Tanaka studied her with those sharp eyes. You disagree with my assessment. I disagree with the separation of emotion and logic. The best architecture, the best anything happens when both work together. Ethan's father understood that. Ethan stiffened beside her, but she continued. Marcus Cross was flawed, but he invested in people, not just ideas. It's why his failures hurt so many. They trusted not his business acumen, but his passion. Ethan inherited that passion, but tempered it with pragmatism. Medicor isn't just algorithms and profit margins. It's Sarah's mother, my mother, your daughter. It's every life that could be saved if we stopped treating medicine like a luxury. Miyuki, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. Marina would have liked you. She turned to her husband. She would have invested. Tanaka was quiet for a long moment. Show me the architectural plans. For the next 2 hours, Sophia presented her revisions to the medical center designs, integrating Ethan's technology with spaces that promoted healing. She found herself in flow, the plans becoming more than drawings. They were hope rendered in glass and steel. The integration is seamless, Tanaka observed. You work as if you share one mind. We challenge each other, Ethan said, his hand finding Sophia's waist naturally. She sees what I miss. I catch what she overlooks. Together we build something neither could alone. A lovely sentiment, Kenji interjected. But I'm curious what happens when this relationship ends. How do we protect our investment from personal drama? We don't end, Sophia said simply. We evolve or we adapt, but we don't end. Ending is just failure to imagine the next iteration. She felt Ethan's hand tighten on her waist, whether in surprise or agreement, she couldn't tell. That evening, they returned to the penthouse exhausted, but oddly exhilarated. The presentation had gone better than expected. Tanaka seemed genuinely engaged, and even Kenji's suspicion had seemed to waver. You were brilliant, Ethan said, pouring wine. That bit about emotion driving business, where did that come from? My father. He used to say that business without heart was just elaborate theft. She accepted the glass, their fingers brushing. Ethan, I need to tell you something. If it's about revenge, I already... No, well, yes, but... She took a breath. I spent 15 years hating your father. Hating you by extension. But being here, seeing what you've built, how you treat people, I'm questioning everything I believed. Maybe our father's story doesn't have to be ours. Maybe. She set down her wine, moved to the window. But I need to know what really happened. The truth, not the versions we've been told. Ethan joined her, the city lights below, like a circuit board of possibility. There's something I never told anyone. The night my father died, he called me 23 times. I was in my Harvard dorm studying for finals. I ignored every call because I was angry he'd missed my birthday again. The pain in his voice was raw, 15 years doing nothing to heal it. The last voicemail, he said he was sorry for everything he'd done, everything he'd failed to do. He mentioned your father by name, said David Chen was the only real friend he'd ever had, and he'd destroyed that too. Sophia turned to him, seeing tears he didn't bother to hide. I've played that message 1,000 times, trying to understand what he meant, what he destroyed, why he couldn't live with it. Without thinking, she reached up, wiping a tear from his cheek. He caught her hand, held it there. Sophia, whatever we started this as, it's becoming something else. You feel it too, don't you? Before she could answer, James burst through the door. Kenji is coming up. He knows something. His pattern changed. He made 4 phone calls in rapid succession, and his movement suggests agitation. They barely had time to step apart before the doorbell rang. Kenji stood there with a folder and a satisfied smile. May I come in? I have some fascinating reading material about David Chen and Marcus Cross. Things I think you'll both find illuminating. Kenji spread documents across Ethan's dining table like a dealer showing cards. Bank statements, emails, legal documents, saw 15 years of buried history excavated. Your performance today was touching, he said. Almost believable. But I do my research and imagine my surprise when I discovered Sophia's father and Marcus Cross were partners. We know that, Ethan said evenly. Do you know the full story? Kenji pulled out a photograph, David Chen, Marcus Cross, and a third man, Robert Kenji Yamamoto, my father. Sophia's world tilted. Your father. He was their third partner, silent but essential. He provided the initial capital for their venture. When it failed, he lost everything. Committed suicide 6 months before Marcus Cross. His smile turned bitter. 3 partners, 2 suicides, 1 survivor who couldn't live with what he'd done. What venture? Ethan demanded. What are you talking about? Kenji pulled out more documents. MedTech innovations. They were developing early detection software for diseases. Sound familiar? Your precious Medicore is built on the bones of their failure. Sophia grabbed the papers, scanning rapidly. Her father's signature, Marcus's and Robert Yamamoto's. Partnership agreements, loan documents, and then, this is wrong, she said. These dates, my father was already bankrupt by then. Because Marcus Cross emptied the accounts, Kenji said. Transferred everything to offshore holdings. Your father and mine were left with nothing but debt and shame. That's not possible. Ethan was reading over her shoulder. My father's estate was nearly bankrupt. Where did the money go? James, who had been silent, suddenly spoke. Page 47. They flipped to it a medical invoice. Treatment for childhood leukemia. Patient name James Cross. That's me, James said quietly. I was 8. The treatment was experimental, not covered by insurance. Cost $2.8 million over 2 years. The room went silent. He stole the money to save you, Sophia whispered. No, James said, pulling out his phone, typing rapidly. He borrowed it. Look. He showed them his screen bank records he'd somehow accessed. Payments from Emma Cross to D. Chen and R. Yamamoto post-dated checks for the full amount plus interest. They bounced because by then he had nothing left. He was trying to pay them back. Ethan sank into a chair. But the damage was done, Kenji said, though his certainty had wavered. My father couldn't face the shame. Neither could yours, Sophia. Wait. Sophia was connecting pieces, her architectural mind, building the true structure. Kenji, when did your father die? March 15th, 2009. My father died March 22nd. Marcus died September 10th. She looked at them all. They didn't kill themselves because of the money. They killed themselves because of guilt, each death triggering the next. A cascade failure, James said, like when one support beam fails and the entire building collapses. Dad couldn't forgive himself for what his desperation cost his friends. Miyuki's voice came from the doorway. None of them had heard her arrive with Tanaka. Sometimes the weight of survival is heavier than death. I know this. Tanaka stood beside her, his expression unreadable. Kenji, you've been investigating the wrong crime. These men didn't betray each other. They loved each other enough to die for their shame. I don't understand, Kenji said, his carefully constructed narrative crumbling. Your father, my biological father, Tanaka said quietly, and the room gasped. Yes, Kenji, I've known all along. Robert Yamamoto and I had an affair when I was young and foolish. You're my son, though I couldn't claim you. Kenji staggered. You knew. I've been waiting 40 years for you to trust me enough to tell me yourself. Instead, you investigate, you scheme, you suspect every one of the betrayals you feel I committed. Tanaka's voice held infinite sadness. I brought you into my company, made you my right hand, hoping you'd understand you were always my family. But Marina was your half-sister. She knew. She wanted to tell you, but I asked her to wait until you were ready. Miyuki moved to Kenji, taking his hands. She loved you. Even though you could barely look at her, she loved her big brother. I was in the car, Kenji's voice broke. The night she died, I pulled her friend Linda out first because she was closer. By the time I went back for Marina, the car had already... The fire. The room went absolutely still. Sophia couldn't breathe. You saved Linda, my cousin. She died at the hospital 3 hours later, internal bleeding. But Marina died in the fire, conscious, calling for her mother. Kenji collapsed into a chair. I chose wrong. I saved the wrong person first. There is no wrong person, Tanaka said firmly. You saved who you could reach. Marina would have wanted you to save her friend. That's who she was. Linda lived long enough to say goodbye, Sophia whispered. The hospital called us. She said someone pulled her out, that someone tried. You gave my family 3 hours we wouldn't have had. Kenji looked up at her, eyes red. She kept saying to save Marina first. Even dying, she wanted Marina saved first. They loved each other, Miyuki said softly. Like sisters. Like you all could be if you stopped letting the past dictate the future. In the chaos of emotion, Sophia found herself pressed against Ethan, his arm around her, as they watched families reshaping themselves around truth. She thought of the plan she'd carried for so long, revenge, justice, balance. But what was justice when everyone was a victim? What was revenge when the guilty had already punished themselves more than she ever could? I need air, she whispered. This time Ethan followed her to the terrace. Everything I believed was wrong, she said to the night. 15 years of hate, and they were all just trying to save each other. Maybe that's what we're doing too, saving each other. She turned to him. This was supposed to be fake. The relationship, the feelings, all of it. Was it, or were we just finishing what they started, 3 broken families trying to heal? Ethan. I know this is insane. We've known each other 4 days, but James is right. We're architecturally codependent now. I don't know how to untangle what's real from what we're pretending. Then don't. The words came from her heart, bypassing her brain entirely. Not untangle it. Let it be both. Let it be everything. He moved closer, his hand coming up to cup her face. Sophia, Wait, she pulled back slightly. Not yet, not like this. If we're going to do this, whatever this is, I need it to be real. Not because of the performance or the pressure or the emotion of tonight. Then when, after the gala, after Tanaka makes his decision, when there's nothing fake left between us. She touched his hand still on her face. Can you wait? I've been waiting my whole life for something I didn't know I was looking for. He dropped his hand but caught hers, threading their fingers together. 2 more days won't kill me. James was right about the probability, wasn't he? James is always right about probabilities. It's possibilities he sometimes misses. They stood there, hands linked, the city lights below them like a promise or a warning. The presentation is Saturday, Ethan said. The gala. After that, you don't have to stay. What if I want to? Then we stop pretending and start building something real. James appeared in the doorway. Tanaka and Miyuki are staying for tea. Also, Kenji is crying, which is statistically significant, as he hasn't shown emotion in the 47 times I've observed him. Should I document this kiss? It seems structurally important. James, they said in unison. But they were laughing. As they went inside to face whatever came next, Sophia thought about architecture and relationships, about foundations built on truth and lies, about bridges that spanned impossible distances. Her father had been wrong. Buildings weren't just concrete and promises. They were forgiveness and possibility strong enough to hold the weight of the past while reaching toward the future. The performance had become real, or perhaps it had always been real, just waiting for them to stop pretending otherwise. Either way, they had 2 more days to figure it out, and a lifetime to build whatever came next. Sophia woke to the sound of rain against glass and the smell of coffee already brewing. She found Ethan on the terrace despite the weather, standing under the overhang, watching the city wake through the downpour. The broken Rolex was in his hand, not hidden in his pocket for once. Couldn't sleep, she asked, joining him with 2 mugs. James had a rough night. The rain sounds purple to him, apparently, and purple keeps him awake. He took the offered coffee. He finally passed out around 4. And you stayed up with him. He's my brother. That's what you do. He turned the watch over in his hands. I've been thinking about our fathers, about the choices they made. What about them? My father chose James's life over his honor. Your father chose to forgive him even in his medical notes. Kenji's father will never know what he would have chosen because shame chose for him. He looked at her. Every choice creates ripples. We're living in our father's ripples. Or maybe we're creating our own. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the rain paint the city in watercolor grays. Then Miyuki Tanaka emerged from the stairwell, having climbed 2 flights despite her heart condition. Mrs. Tanaka. Ethan rushed to help her, but she waved him off. I needed to climb, to feel my heart work even if it hurts. She was breathing hard, one hand pressed to her chest. May I sit? They guided her to a chair, Sophia noting the irregular rhythm of her breathing, classic Takotsubo symptoms. The woman's heart was literally reshaped by grief, the left ventricle blown out like a balloon from the stress hormones released during emotional trauma. I came to tell you something, Miyuki said once she caught her breath. About Marina and Linda, about the night they died. Sophia's hand found Ethan's. They were coming to see me, Miyuki continued. I had been resistant to Marina dating a woman, especially one not Japanese. My traditional views, she laughed bitterly. They were driving through that storm to tell me they were engaged. Marina wanted my blessing before she proposed properly. Mrs. Tanaka, they died because of my prejudice, because Marina felt she needed my approval to love who she loved. Tears ran down her weathered face. I've spent 3 years dying of a broken heart, but the truth is I broke my own heart with my narrow-mindedness. You couldn't have known, Sophia said softly. No, but I should have trusted. The way Hiroshi trusts you two, even knowing what he knows. Ethan stiffened. What do you mean, what he knows? Miyuki smiled sadly. My husband ran one of Japan's largest corporations for 40 years. You think he cannot recognize a performance he knew from the first dinner you were pretending? Then why? Because he also saw what you couldn't, that the performance was becoming truth, that 2 people pretending to love can accidentally teach themselves how. She stood steadier now. The gala is tomorrow. He'll make his decision based not on your lie, but on what grew from it. She left them standing in the rain, processing her words. We're idiots, Ethan said finally. Complete idiots, Sophia agreed. So what do? We stop pretending, we're pretending. James appeared in the doorway, hair standing at odd angles. The rain stopped sounding purple. Now it sounds like silver. Like truth. He looked at them. Also, Kenji is downstairs. He's been sitting in his car for 47 minutes working up courage. His pattern suggests confession. Kenji looked like he hadn't slept, his usual sharp suit replaced with jeans and a wrinkled button-down. He stood in Ethan's living room like a man approaching the gallows. I need to tell you everything, he said, about the accident, about Marina and Linda, about why I've been investigating you all. We know about the accident, Sophia said gently, that you tried to save them both. You know facts. You don't know truth. He pulled out his phone, showed them a video. This is from my dash cam. I haven't watched it since that night. I couldn't, but you need to see. The video was grainy, rain-streaked, but clear enough. A car spinning on the wet highway, hitting the barrier, flipping. Kenji's car stopping him, running through the storm. The audio caught everything: Marina screaming for Linda to be saved first. Linda begging him to save Marina, both women thinking only of the other, even as flames began. I made a choice, Kenji said, voice hollow. I pulled Linda out because Marina begged me to. By the time I got Linda to my car and went back, he stopped the video before the explosion. Marina was still conscious. She said, tell my mother I was happy. Tell her Linda made me complete. Sophia was crying. Ethan pulled her close, his own eyes wet. I've spent 3 years hating myself for saving the wrong person, Kenji continued, investigating everyone, looking for someone else to blame. But the truth is there was no right choice, just two women who loved each other more than themselves. You gave Linda 3 hours, Sophia said through her tears, 3 hours to say goodbye, to tell us she loved us. That's not nothing. And you gave Marina's last words to her mother, Ethan added. That's a gift even in grief. Kenji sank into a chair. I'm Tanaka's son. Did you know that? We figured it out. He's known all along, 40 years of me hating him for not acknowledging me, and he was just waiting for me to be ready to be acknowledged. He laughed bitterly. I've wasted so much time on anger. Then stop, James said bluntly. Anger is just fear wearing a disguise. Take off the disguise. It's not that simple. Yes, it is, James interrupted. You choose every second you choose. Right now, you're choosing to sit in my brother's apartment instead of talking to your father. That's data. What you do with the data determines the pattern. Kenji stared at James, then slowly stood. You're right, I need to go. He paused at the door. The gala tomorrow, it's not really about the investment anymore. Tanaka wants to see if you can be honest. Both of you. Together. He looked between Ethan and Sophia. He lost a daughter who died trying to be honest about love. Don't waste your chance. After he left, the three of them sat in silence. Finally, James spoke. I'm going to the gala tomorrow. Ethan turned shocked. James, you don't have to. Yes, I do. You're my brother. Sophia makes your eyes stop twitching. The colors are better when you're both here. That's worth facing a room full of people whose sounds make me nauseous. James, also I designed something for Medicor, for Sophia, for the medical centers. I want to present it. He pulled out a tablet, showing them architectural plans that seemed to breathe on the screen, buildings that grew like living things with spaces that could adapt to patient needs in real time using AI and responsive materials. This is incredible, Sophia breathed. James, this is revolutionary. It's what Marina and Linda wanted to build. I found their plans in the accident report archives. They had notebooks full of ideas. I just completed the pattern. Ethan hugged his brother, a rare gesture that James allowed for exactly 3 seconds before pulling away. That's enough touching. I need to prepare. The gala starts at 7. I'll need noise-canceling earbuds, my weighted vest, and exactly 4 Xanax. He paused. And Sophia should wear the blue dress. It makes her look like mourning. That afternoon, while Ethan met with lawyers to prepare for either outcome of Tanaka's decision, Sophia drove to Stanford Medical Center, where her mother was starting treatment. Grace Chen looked smaller in the hospital bed, but her eyes were sharp as ever. You look different, her mother said in Mandarin, like you're carrying a secret. Several, actually. Sophia sat beside her, took her mother's hand. Mom, I need to know about Dad and Marcus Cross. Grace's face shuddered. Why are you digging up the past? Because I'm working with Marcus's son. Because the past isn't past, it's shaping everything. Her mother was quiet for so long, Sophia thought she wouldn't answer. Then your father loved Marcus like a brother. When the business failed, Marcus tried to kill himself. Did you know that I found Dad's medical notes? Your father saved him, talked him off the Golden Gate Bridge, literally held him for 2 hours until police came. Grace's voice was soft with memory. Marcus was trying to pay them back when everything collapsed. The money for his younger son's cancer treatment. Why didn't you tell me? Because your father made me promise. He said hatred was poison, that he didn't want you drinking it. She squeezed Sophia's hand. After Marcus succeeded in jumping, your father fell apart. Not from betrayal, but from failure. He couldn't save his friend the second time. Dad killed himself because he couldn't save Marcus. No, my love. Your father had a heart attack while driving. The rain, the stress, his undiagnosed heart condition, it was medical, not intentional. But the police saw his psychiatric history and assumed. Grace pulled an envelope from her bedside table. I've carried this for 15 years. Your father wrote it the day he died, planning to send it to Marcus's family. Sophia opened it with trembling hands. To Ethan and James Cross, your father was the best man I knew. Whatever the world says, whatever debts existed between us, know that Marcus Cross loved you more than life itself. He made impossible choices for love. I forgive him everything and hope he forgave me for not being there when he needed me most. Take care of each other, David Chen. He was going to drive to their house that night, Grace said. To deliver it personally, he never made it. Sophia clutched the letter, understanding, reshaping everything she thought she knew. Mom, I think I'm falling in love with Ethan Cross. I know, sweetheart. You look at him the way I looked at your father, like he's both your foundation and your wings. Grace smiled. Your father would be happy. He'd say the pattern is completing itself. That sounds like something James would say. James, the brother with autism. He's brilliant, Mom. He sees the world in colors and patterns and truth. Sophia showed her James's architectural designs. He's designing healing spaces that could save lives. Grace studied the plans, then her daughter. You're building something together. All three of you. Four, actually. Kenji Yamamoto is Tanaka's son and was in the accident that killed Marina, Tanaka, and Linda. Are Linda your cousin? She and Marina were in love. They were planning to build exactly what we're building now. Grace was quiet, processing. So many connections, like a web. Or like architecture, everything supporting everything else. Her mother smiled. Your father would say that's how the universe works, broken pieces finding each other to make something whole. Sophia returned to find the penthouse transformed. James had covered one entire wall with equations, drawings, and what looked like a map of connections between everyone involved. Ethan was on the terrace on the phone with someone. It's beautiful, she told James, studying his work. Like seeing the story from above. Every connection matters, James said, adding another line. Look, if Marcus hadn't tried to save me, David would be alive. If David was alive, you'd never have met Ethan. If Marina and Linda hadn't died, Kenji wouldn't have saved Linda for those 3 hours. Every tragedy creates possibility. That's either deeply profound or deeply disturbing. Both, most truths are. He turned to her. You're going to tell Tanaka the truth tomorrow. How do you? Pattern recognition. You've been building courage all day. Your shoulders are evening out. The left is almost level with the right. You're letting go of the weight. Ethan came in from the terrace, face grave. That was the board. If Tanaka doesn't invest, we have to file for bankruptcy Monday. 200 jobs gone. He'll invest, James said simply. You can't know that. I can. He's not investing in Medicor. He's investing in redemption. His own Kenji's ours. The money is just a medium for the real transaction. Which is proof that love is worth the risk. Marina died believing that. He needs to see others believe it too. Ethan looked at Sophia. No pressure. We should practice, she said, for tomorrow. Practice what? Being real. They stood facing each other, the city lights creating a backdrop of possibility. Hi, Ethan said. I'm Ethan Cross. I'm scared of everything, failure, success, feeling too much, feeling too little. I check locks obsessively and carry my dead father's broken watch. I'm falling in love with someone I hired to lie, and I don't know how to stop. Hi, Sophia replied. I'm Sophia Chen. I came here for revenge and found forgiveness. I'm terrified of losing my mother and of becoming her, so afraid of loss I never risk loving. I'm falling in love with the son of my father's best friend, and I don't want to stop. That was adequate, James observed. But you're still performing. Try again, but this time touch. Ethan reached out, cupped Sophia's face. She covered his hands with hers. I dream about buildings that heal, she whispered. But I never dreamed about healing until I met you. I built walls to keep everyone out, he replied. But you walked through them like they were made of air. Better, James said. Now kiss. James, they both protested. It's data collection. Kiss now when it's practice, so tomorrow when it's real, you don't fumble. They looked at each other, laughed, then Ethan leaned in. The kiss was soft, tentative, a question more than a statement. Insufficient data, James announced. Try again with more commitment. The second kiss was deeper. Sophia's hands moving to Ethan's hair, his arms pulling her closer. When they parted, both were breathing unsteadily. Satisfactory, James said. Heart rates elevated by approximately 40%, pupils dilated, skin, flushing indicating, oh. James stopped documenting and go to bed, Ethan said, but he was smiling. Fine, but you should know the probability of successful emotional connection has increased to 91.7%. He paused at his door. Also, Sophia, you're staying, aren't you, after tomorrow? Yes, she said without hesitation. I'm staying. Good. The colors are better when you're here. Alone, Ethan and Sophia stood in the space between friendship and something more between performance and truth. Tomorrow changes everything, Ethan said. Everything already changed. Tomorrow, we just admit it. What if Tanaka? Then we figure it out. Together. She stepped back, needing distance to think clearly. But tonight we should sleep. Real sleep in our own rooms, so tomorrow we know that whatever happens is choice, not proximity. You're right. He moved toward his room, paused. Sophia, that letter you have. From your father to us. May I read it? She retrieved it from her bag, handed it over. Watched him read his father's best friend's last words. Saw tears he didn't try to hide. He forgave him, Ethan whispered. They forgave each other. Maybe that's what love really is, mutual forgiveness for being human. Saturday arrived crisp and clear as San Francisco, putting on its best face. The gala was at the Palace of Fine Arts, the dome structure reflected in the lagoon like a promise of permanence in an impermanent world. Sophia wore the blue dress James had suggested, its color shifting like water in the light. Ethan was in a classic tuxedo, but it was James who surprised them, dressed impeccably, weighted vest hidden beneath his jacket, looking handsome and terrified in equal measure. I can do this, he said more to himself than them. The patterns are clear. The sound will be purple and orange, but I have my earbuds. I can do this. We'll be right there, Ethan promised. If you need to leave. I won't leave. Marina wouldn't leave. Linda wouldn't leave. I won't leave. The palace was already filling when they arrived. Tech elite medical professionals, investors, all gathered to celebrate Medicor's potential future or witness its elegant funeral. Tanaka and Miyuki were already there, Kenji beside them. Father and son standing together for the first time publicly, the resemblance obvious now that they weren't hiding it. You came, Tanaka said to James, genuine surprise in his voice. Patterns require completion, James replied. Also, I have something to show you. Before anyone could respond, James walked to the presentation area, connected his tablet to the screen. The room quieted, curious. I don't like talking, James began, his voice shaky but determined. Words taste wrong in my mouth. But buildings are honest. They can't lie about what they are. He pulled up his designs, the room gasping at their beauty and innovation. Marina Tanaka and Linda Chen designed the heart of these buildings before they died. I found their notebooks, their dreams. They wanted spaces that adapt to pain, that reshape themselves around suffering to create healing. The designs flowed on screen, organic and impossible and beautiful. Using my brother's AI and Sophia's architectural philosophy, I completed their pattern. This is what Medicor could build. Not just medical centers, but living spaces that respond to human need. These are extraordinary, someone whispered. They're not mine, James said simply. They belong to Marina and Linda and everyone who believes healing is possible. I just translated them from dream to design. He walked back to Ethan and Sophia, trembling from the effort of public speaking. I need to sit now. The orange is very loud. They guided him to a quiet corner where he could recover, then returned to find Tanaka approaching the microphone. Before I announce my decision, he said, I want to tell you a story about two young women who loved each other, about fathers who failed their children, about friends who betrayed and forgave each other, and about two people who pretended to love and accidentally discovered truth. The room was silent. Ethan Cross and Sophia Chen began this week as strangers performing a charade. They ended as partners in every sense. I know this because I've watched them choose each other over easier paths. I've seen them forgive what seemed unforgivable. He gestured to Kenji. This is my son. It took 40 years for us to acknowledge each other, 40 years of wasted time. Marina, my daughter, knew him as her brother. She died trying to bring truth to light. Her last words were of happiness, of completion. Miyuki stood beside him, fragile but fierce. Love is risk. My daughter knew this. Linda Chen knew this. They died driving through a storm to declare their truth. We honor them by taking the same risks with our hearts. And therefore, Tanaka continued, I am investing not 50 million, but 75 million in Metacore. Not because Mr. Cross succeeded in his deception, but because he failed at it so spectacularly that truth grew in its place. The room erupted in applause, but Ethan was pushing through the crowd to reach Sophia. It's done, he said. The company saved your mother's treatment is covered. We don't have to pretend. I was never pretending, she interrupted. Not the parts that mattered. Neither was I. They kissed then in front of everyone. No performance in it, just two people who'd found each other through loss and lies in the strange architecture of fate. James appeared beside them. The probability has reached 100%. Also, can we leave? The purple is overwhelming and someone is wearing perfume that sounds like screaming. They laughed, gathering him between them, a family formed from fragments. 1 year later, the first Marina Linda Center for Integrated Healing opened on a foggy Tuesday morning. The building seemed to breathe with the wind, its walls shifting subtly to track the sun, its rooms reshaping themselves based on patient needs. James's impossible architecture made real through Ethan's AI and Sophia's design philosophy. Grace Chen cut the ribbon healthy after successful treatment, standing beside Miyuki Tanaka, whose broken heart had begun to mend through purpose. Kenji managed the foundation they'd created, finding redemption in service. Your father would be proud, Grace told Sophia, who stood with Ethan's arm around her wedding ring, still new enough to notice. Both our fathers, Ethan corrected. They started this even if they couldn't finish it. James was inside showing a group of children with autism how the building responded to their needs colors, shifting to soothe sounds, adjusting to comfort. He'd found his voice through architecture, speaking the language of space and possibility. Do you think they know? Sophia asked. Marina and Linda, our fathers, do you think they know we completed their pattern? I think that's what love does. Miyuki set her hand over her healing heart. It completes patterns across time, across death, across impossible distances. As if in response, the sun broke through the fog, filling the building with light that seemed to pulse like a heartbeat. All the broken pieces finally whole, all the patterns finally complete. In his pocket, Ethan still carried the broken Rolex, but now it reminded him not of time stopping, but of time continuing, each second a choice, each choice a bridge between what was lost and what could be found. Sophia's hand found his, their fingers interlocking like the buildings they designed, separate structures that became stronger, together creating spaces where healing wasn't just possible, but inevitable. Ready, she asked. For what? The rest of it. All of it. Everything. He squeezed her hand. With you always. They walked into their building, their future, their truth built on a foundation of forgiven betrayals and impossible love, reaching toward a sky that for once seemed full of nothing but light.